Well, it's 8 a.m. I've had maybe 4 or 5 hours of sleep, but I do have a face like a regurgitated oyster. But I'm somewhat happy because we're out here in the mountains. Colin, what do you have a face like?
I have a face like a squashed banana slug.
It actually does. What's going on here, Grumpton?
I got a hole that, of course, they're really hard to find unless you spray some soapy water on there and you can see the bubbles coming out. But it's not very nice to sleep on when you have a flat mat.
What's that little kind of...
Man glue. That's from the previous hole.
So you did not have a good night's sleep last night?
Not bad, but I kept waking up. And then I could hear some really heavy breathing and snoring.
That's probably Amanda.
I think it was.
Morning, love. Apparently your snoring kept Grumpton awake.
Your snoring is really loud, Amanda.
Oh, I had to snore over the gas sounds that were coming out of the tent.
What are you talking about?
It was atrocious.
She's on her own.
Yeah.
Hopefully she had earplugs. Because I had a butt plug.
No, you didn't.
So what are you having for breakfast there, Colin?
The Lodi meals?
Yeah, and then what's this all about? A medley salami?
It's in case I get lonely. Know what I mean?
So it's our second lap, our second time up the hill towards the lake. Sun's out and the clouds are still kind of hanging around, so we might get some kind of nice light, but it's a little bit late in the day for anything spectacular. But if the forecast holds true and we get a bit of rain, then we get a bit of light, then we get a bit of rain and a bit of light, you never know. Could get rainbows and unicorns. I knew I'd get that reaction.
And so once again we began the climb with throbbing blisters and knees of cheese. But what better way to get some much needed exercise than hiking to a beautiful lake in the mountains.
Right, we're almost there. I reckon 2 minutes. Oh, I can see the lake.
Once we arrived at the lake, it was time for second breakfast, and of course, the application of appropriate footwear.
Please, sir, have you got any spare change?
I'll fill that cup for you.
Now, whenever Adam talks about tea, Amanda has a very strict 11-second attention span, which you can see in action right here.
Well, it's kind of like Colin offering me tea, and he gives me red rose. I mean, really.
Is that not good?
Well, red rose. It's almost as bad as Lipton's.
Oh dear.
But, you know, it's like one step above Lipton's.
And there she goes, but to be fair, who gives a shit about tea?
So we've made it back up to Landslide Lake with hours to spare this time. In fact, we've got a whole day to kill. And I reckon I'm going to stop using that windy.com weather app because it could not have been more wrong. It's just blue sky day. I don't think there's any chance of rain. But then again, the thing is with these weather apps, when it comes to mountains, you can't really predict what's going to happen because the mountains have their own ideas of what's going to happen with the weather. So these forecasts, they're not really worth the paper that they're written on. So we're just going to enjoy a nice mushroom coffee. Yeah, mushroom coffee. I poo-pooed it. I thought it was a terrible idea, but it actually tastes weirdly good. And I hate mushrooms, but it's quite good.
Can you taste the mushrooms?
No.
I can't taste mushrooms, but there is this other flavour to it that I don't mind. It's kind of a toasty flavour.
Kind of like poo.
Kind of like dung.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice little bit of dung. I did that whole monologue last night about the whole reason we came up here was to get our composition so that when we came up in the dark this morning, we'd know where to go, and then we just didn't get out of bed. We were so knackered, we were so tired. So I don't mind it. I feel good about that decision, but I will be getting up tomorrow morning, that is for sure. What about you?
What, early?
Yeah?
Come up here?
Yeah. Because we won't be so knackered, will we? Because,
Maybe.
you know, we've only got to hike back down the hill in about 8 hours, so it's not that bad, maybe less. So we're just going to sort of relax for a bit, kill a bit of time, and then I'll start composition hunting, see what the light does. I might try some different comps if the light reveals some new details. And if I do find anything, I'll show you what I've found. Right, Colin. Oh, that's quite a nice composition. Do you want some tips on ways to improve?
No, I'm good.
Oh yeah, that is pretty good.
Hey, Adam. Yeah, can you give me some tips here? I'm having a bit of trouble.
Well, it's going to cost you though.
Totally fine.
All right, well, so you just move the camera over to the left a little bit, and then maybe stop down to f11. Have you got a polarizer on?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, well, turn that.
We decided to have a bit of a nap by the lake because it's dead windy and we can't get a shot without a reflexion, so we're just going to kill time and have a nap. And I've found this second use for my backpack, and that is basically use it like an aeroplane pillow, except it's like not quite as comfortable. But you know, it's better than nothing, isn't it, love?
Way better than last night.
What are you talking about?
It smells good and fresh. It was stinky last night.
Well, that's because you ate those Mexican beans, isn't it?
No, that was you. It was toxic.
By toxic, you mean delightful.
I like it here.
So I reckon it's pretty obvious what makes Landslide Lake so popular. I mean, obviously epic peaks, but I think what draws most hikers here is these beautiful emerald green waters that are quite transparent when it's nice and calm and flat like this. You can just see right through to all of these little bits of timber and logs underneath. Just magical. And when the sun gets really, really high, that's when it starts to glow, almost like this ridiculous neon green. It's quite spectacular, but that's not really what I'm after. You know my style. I like a moody, sort of more misty shot, bit more dramatic. And for that, really, you need an early morning. So we failed to get up this morning, but I'm going to get up. No matter what, I'm getting up tomorrow. I promise. I promise. I'm going to do that.
Even though I don't usually get excited about what I call postcard light, it would be rude not to capture a scene as beautiful as this.
So we've waited a few hours from our aborted nap and hoping that things would get better, and they got worse, because there's nothing worse than a blue sky than a white sky.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah? So who's this Bri Barnham character you've been hanging around with instead of me?
Were you jealous?
No, I'm not jealous. I'm just like, you know, who is he and what's he to you? And how many times have you seen him? Seriously.
A couple of times.
Couple?
Gave me these glasses. They're pretty cool, aren't they?
Oh, he gave you those?
Yeah.
Yeah, they look really cool.
Well, I like them because they fit my massive head.
It really is massive, isn't it? No, I mean, seriously though, like, you know, was he staying at your place or what was the deal there?
Yeah, I think he's looking for friends. So
What kind of friends?
Well, just regular friends.
Regular?
Where's this going?
I don't know. But seriously, how many times?
A couple of times.
Yeah? How long did he stay for?
Weekend.
A full weekend?
Yeah.
Just you and him? At your place?
Yeah.
Not even doing any photography, just like
Just drinking beer, pretty much.
going gallivanting on your scooters?
Yeah, pretty much.
I didn't get invited to that.
We're
did
thinking of starting a club.
I? Yeah? What's it called?
Scooters and shooters.
No surprises there.
Yeah, it's only the cool kids
Yeah?
can join.
What will you be shooting? Will I be getting an invite on the next one then to Scooters and Shooters?
You'll have to bring your own scooter because I only have two.
You've got two?
I do.
Well, you just lend me one of yours.
Yeah, but if Brian's with us, because he's part of the club, then we'd need three, wouldn't we?
Oh, you can't lend it to me.
You can jump on the back with Brian. Just hold around his waist.
I see how it is. This is how it is.
Well, get your own scooter and you could be in the club.
Well, Brian hasn't got his own scooter. He's borrowing yours.
Well, it's not mine actually. It's Karen's. But
Yeah.
She's not in the club.
But she knits the hats for the club.
That's right.
Right, so while we're waiting for anything to happen, I figured I'd just talk you through this shot and what I'm doing here with lens distortion and the problems that you can get when using lens distortion to your advantage. So what I've got here, I'll just zoom out so you can see what's happening with this camera. You can just see Amanda creeping in there. So what I have on this camera, I actually have a crop sensor lens. It's a 10-18. It's not meant for a full frame camera, but it actually works quite well on this full frame camera, because if I zoom beyond this ugly vignette that you can see, just zoom past that, it actually gives me a focal length that's round about the equivalent of a 14 or 15 millimeter on this full frame. Now if I zoom too far, I start to get this ugly vignette on the edges again. So it's finding this sweet spot. And like I said, this lens is not designed for this camera, but it does work really well for scenes like this. And what I mean by scenes like this, I'll just turn the polarizer here, is you can see the peaks are really, really distorted. So if I just loosen this off, if I bring this back up to about here, that's what the mountain's shape really looks like. That's probably, I would say, perfectly accurate. But then if I angle it down, look at the stretch on that. It's way more intense and dramatic, and I love that. And if you've seen my videos before, you'll know that I use this trick quite a lot. The problem that you get when you emphasize those mountains and stretch them with that lens distortion and make them look more pointy is if you have a reflection in this area, because the reflection is out of that sweet spot towards the edge of the lens and it's in the center, your reflection is much smaller. I mean, you can just kind of see it here. You can see how small that reflection is in comparison to what you're seeing up here in the top half of the frame. So this technique, I mean, you can do that, but people will see that difference in the shape and size when you've got a reflection. But this works really well, this technique, when you don't necessarily have a perfect reflection and there's something in your foreground that you can use to fill your foreground and your middle ground with interest without that reflection to give away the trick that you have just used to make those mountains really impressive. But I'm still going to use that anyway, because it also works on the bottom half of the frame. So if I was to get closer to this branch here, this piece of timber, I can kind of use the same distortion to warp that and exaggerate this shape, which would make it a far more aggressive and interesting leading line. So it's finding that balance. Might not work with this shot. I'll give it a try anyway, but honestly, I don't know if anything's going to happen. I really kind of hope it does, because if it does, then I don't have to come back up here tomorrow morning, do we, love?
That would be nice.
Yeah, it would be nice, wouldn't it? Yeah. I wonder if there's any fish in that lake there.
I would imagine so.
Yeah.
Haven't you ever seen The River Runs Through It with Brad Pitt?
No.
About the fly fishing?
No.
Yeah.
Right, we've quit. It's just after 7 p.m. It's just getting socked in and garbage, so that's it. We've quit, which means that we really have to rely on this third trip tomorrow morning. All right, back down the hill to our lovely, cozy and comfortable tent situation.
Backcountry camping. What a truly liberating experience. You know, sharing the forest with its many furry creatures. But watch out for Sasquatch, because he's out there.
Is that you snoring?
No.
That's not me either. And Grumpton is over there. So that's got to be Colin. I don't think we'll be getting up in the morning, love, because I'm not going to sleep through that.
This is awful, isn't it?
Why do we do this?
We say that every time.
It's terrible. It's never good.
No, it doesn't smell good in here either.
Hey. Yeah, it's bad. What are we going to do?
I'm guess I'll just walk out right now.
I'm tempted. I'm tempted to just back up and leave. Maybe Colin's got some food we can catch.
We could eat some salami.
Let's make him feel really guilty for his noise and his snoring tonight, and then he'll just give us all his food.
No.
Is that evil?
Wish I could just sleep through things.
Yeah, me too.
But instead, no.
This is terrible. A few minutes ago there was some guy, he must have showed up at 11 PM, started banging his tent poles into the ground, making a right racket. This is terrible.
Happy thoughts and smiling. Happy thoughts and smiling.
After the worst sleep imaginable, we staggered from our tents and immediately hit the trail, but things weren't looking all that promising.
So we just left the campsite. Grumpton got up and decided to go right back to bed, and I think maybe he was wise to do that.
Looking like it.
Because we've got here and it is just Graysville. Oh, now, it's not that I'm a complete douchebag who wants people to see my girthy Shatner. It's just that I left my t-shirt in the trees to dry overnight and then it rained. So I've got no shirt, but it's too hot to put my jacket on, so that's why I was hiking up here like a shirtless douchebag. We've just crossed the river where there's this opening and you can just see the mountains in the distance, and it does not look good. And it's a lot of effort to go up there and then come back down to then have a 4-hour hike. So what do you think?
Looking pretty rank up there.
I'll show you what we're looking at. It's half an hour. Just half an hour of exhausting uphill climb and blister torture.
Totally. Oh yeah. Heart stopping. But we're gonna do it.
We're gonna do it. Let's go. Let's do it. I'll take my pants off. Be completely naked. Well, we've made it to the lake and it's not completely calm, but we might get a reflexion, but this is what I was hoping for. I mean, just look how fast these low-lying clouds are just wafting into the scene. So this is what I like. I like all of these atmospherics that you can see up here, and now they're creeping into the lake. So this could turn out pretty good. I would like to be able to see the tops on the peaks there. I don't know if you can see that. They're just a little bit covered in cloud, but it's got some potential. So this is exactly what I was hoping for when the forecast said it would rain. And typically when it rains overnight and you come up to a mountain lake like this is the kind of thing that you're likely to see the next morning, and we've got it, and it's absolutely gorgeous. The lake could be calmer, but it's not too bad. I'll take that. I'm quite happy with that. And if I could just get a tiny little gap of cloud on the very tallest peak there so that it just poked through that bit of cloud, that would be the icing on the cake. I don't know what my chances are of getting it. And actually, if it does pop out, it might not even fit in my composition. I might have to recompose, because I composed this without being able to see the top of the mountain. So I don't even know if it's in the frame, but I'm very happy with this. And sometimes when you go out and you shoot scenes like this, when you get there and you see that it's misty cloud and it's not dynamic, punchy, contrasty, colourful light, sometimes you'll get there and you'll feel disheartened. You'll look at it and think, it's grim. That's not going to make a good picture. I've done that myself, but over the years I've learned to just shoot it anyway, because I'll find often when I load the raw files up on the computer and it's maybe a week later and I've kind of forgotten about that dingy light, you see it with fresh eyes and you realise how spectacularly beautiful this kind of moody, doom-laden, gloomy light actually is. And sometimes they turn out to be the better shots, often quite different to those alpine glow hot peak shots. Sometimes these are even better. Ooh, I think I'm getting a little bit of the peak coming through the cloud there, so I'll stop waffling, I'll crack on with this shot.
Now, if I'm being honest, those peaks that you can see just poking through the clouds, well, that never happened. I cheated. Here's how it really looked. I used the magic of Photoshop for Morons to create a patch which you can learn all about in my new course, which is on sale right now. There's a link in the description below.
Now, so far on this trip, I have actually been amazed by how little the bugs have bothered us. There's not really been that many mosquitoes, and for late August, up in the mountains, it should be terrible, but it's been quite good. However, there are a few black flies pestering me this morning, so it's time I gave you a reminder of the wave of hatred. Now, in order to get the wave of hatred perfect, you have to put a bit of hatred and venom and rage into it. So kind of like this, you hit your shutter and then it's... There you go. Perfect. Perfect form. Now, I noticed on the first night when we all got here, Grumpton made a beeline for that interesting log over there. It's kind of all twisty and gnarly. And I wanted to go and have a look at it, but I didn't want to do it while he was around because I knew he'd claim that that's my log, this is my shot, because he's like that, you know. And now that he's not here, I mean, if you don't show up, I'm going to go over there and get that shot. Well, I can see why Adam liked this, because, you know, quite frankly, it's a bit obvious, it's a bit easy. I mean, you know, sometimes the simple shots work, so I mean, it'd be rude if I didn't take it, you know, I mean, it'd be stupid if I didn't shoot this composition. So I'm just going to do that. I'm just going to wait for something to happen here, and what I'm doing is I'm polarizing using my circular polarizer so that you can see through the water to these bits of dead timber that are underneath there. And then what I'll do is I'll also just turn that polarizer again so that it is not cutting through the water and you get a full reflexion. And then I might just blend those two exposures in Photoshop so that I've got the best of both worlds. I can choose exactly how much reflection I want to have after, rather than just baking it into the raw file and not having that option. I like to keep my options open with things like that. Anyway, it started to rain again and the wind's picked up, so I may not get this shot, I might not get that reflexion, but still quite beautiful anyway. I'm glad we hiked up. I wasn't enjoying the hike, but now that we're here and we've got these conditions, it was well worth it.
Now, just like before, I must confess, I did cheat by using a patch that I dropped in from a shot from the previous day, which really is a disgraceful abuse of Photoshop that definitely none of your favourite photographers do every single day. They definitely don't do that. And you shouldn't do it either, but you know, if you did want to learn how to do that, there's a link.
So we just decided while it was raining a bit harder, just to have a little break, and Colin was kind enough to lend me this Cliff Bar.
I'd like it back, please.
After I've eaten it? Mm-hmm. No problem. And usually I cannot stand Cliff Bars. They literally make me gag as I'm chewing them. But this one, the white chocolate macadamia nut, it's actually edible. So get in touch, Cliff Bar. Lucrative sponsorship deal, maybe. Do I actually have to eat it? Get in touch. Do you want some tips on your composition?
No. I'm good now.
Oh yeah, that is a good composition.
Adam, could you give me some tips here on this composition? Give me a him?
Well, I could, but it's going to cost you.
Totally fine. Totally fine.
All right. Well, tell you what. So, just I'd move the camera over just to the left a little bit.
The elbow.
I'm starting to sink. Woo. Maybe I need some manpower. Come on, help me out. I'm not getting anywhere too quick, am I?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I got some.
Do you want to come on?
Yeah. All right.